Chris Brown, Steve Tasker on a Buffalo Football Monday. Pleased to be joined now by former Bills offensive tackle John Fina, this week's Legend of the Game. And the Legend of the Game is presented by the BFLO Store, the official retailer of the Buffalo Bills. Good to see you, John, in from Arizona.
Yeah, Brownie.
Ready to roll?
Steve, long way to go.
Yeah.
From Arizona through Tennessee, made it here.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
That's awesome.
I'm like a half a generation ahead of you. Your guys you got one in college, you got one in senior in high school. All mine are they're just freshly married, all of them. So
Live vicariously through me again.
that's right. So you got telling me your boys are playing college football.
Yeah, first of all, my daughters are doing great. I got one, new job right out of the gate. My second daughter is at the University of Arizona. My son Bruno is a starting left tackle at Duke. He has 2 years to play, graduate student. And my younger boy, Roman, will be with him at Duke next year, committed to Duke. So
Wow, that's
One-stop shop
for me.
One-stop shopping for football.
Yeah, when the games line up, it's straight up the coast for me to come to Buffalo.
that's
I'm super
perfect.
excited.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Speaking of linemen,
congratulations on all of them. That's great.
Thank you.
Speaking of linemen, I got to ask you, because what we've seen the last couple of years is the advent of the sixth offensive lineman, heavy formations coming out on the field. What have you made of that, just in your observations? Because the Bills use it. Alec Anderson's their sixth offensive lineman this year. The Jaguars have used it 18 times in their first 2 games, going 6-0 linemen. Just your thoughts on it and what you see the benefits of it being for these teams.
Well, strategically, it's a great play as long as you can catch them in the right defense, right? So much nickel is being played now because receivers are incredible. Quarterbacks can throw the ball 60 yards. So you really defend the pass. It's a passing league game, right? That's just the facts. But if you can get the right personnel and add an extra offensive lineman, really all running plays, and I tell kids this all the time, they're designed to go for 4 or 5 yards. That's what we're trying to get, 4 or 5 yards. Want to get into second and medium, second and short. And by adding another guy, if you can get that done on a regular basis, it's just smart football. So, and as a big guy,
That's why I'm asking you.
I like you getting more guys on the field, more opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I was talking to Eric Wood this last segment. A couple of things got to be to run the ball as much as Buffalo has run it early on. First of all, one, you got to be in a close game. You can't be like 3 scores down and having to score. But 2 things do have to be present. One, it's got to be a tight game, or you've got the lead trying to run it out short in the game. And 2, it's got to work. And it's hard to, and everybody wants to see the throwing, the high flying stuff. But if it's working, there's no reason just to throw it. And that's what we've seen in that last half of the Miami game. The Bills just ground it down, and that shortens the game.
Right.
They get less time to score to get back in it, and if you can keep doing it, if it keeps working. What's it? This finger quotes. It keeps working. What's that look like statistically? Like 4 yards a carry, right? Or what? What does it look like to you?
Oh yeah, I would say 4 yards a carry, number one. If you can establish that, and beyond the fact that we sit here and say it's effective. The mental pain for the defense, the anguish, it's
nobody knows that.
You're just like, man, what can we do here? So it's a back break, right? You're just trying to tear down their mentality. You run the ball down their throat. What makes it really, really efficient for the Buffalo Bills right now are a number of things. Number one, our offensive line is playing terrific football. Right. They're game planning properly the runs that they want to get, right? But 2, sitting behind that, right, is this warrior, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So there's always that threat lurking. So how do you play 2 high safeties against the Bills and stop the run? How do you bring people down and then stop the pass?
That's the dilemma, yeah.
And we've seen 2 games in a row now, Josh kind of lurking, getting ready to strike. When you establish the run game, it opens up play action pass. It opens up movement pass, right? We were talking earlier, 2 great defensive ends. If we got to get them out of the pocket a little bit, smart play. I think you establish the run game early. If you can keep Jacksonville close or you're ahead, I don't think they can go toe-to-toe with the Buffalo Bills right now.
Yeah.
So we know that the league can be cyclical, just in terms of approach, offensively, defensively, what have you. Maybe the defense gets ahead around the league. Offensive coordinators spend all offseason in the lab, figure something out, and then there's the new trend. Do you think linebackers and light boxes are getting to a point in the league now where we're going to see this shift? Maybe not totally, because to your point, I think it's always going to be a passing league going forward. Analytics just proves it's a more efficient way to score points. But could we see it drift ever so slightly back to running the football with, you got 225-pound linebackers running around. And if you got a 220-pound back and a 6-man box, go get him, right? Like, do you see a slight shift, maybe a little bit back the other way?
I don't. I think the way you win in this league is you got to score points.
Yeah.
And defensively, you're just caught. You can't line up and defend the run and then have quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Hurts and Allen out there. You're just lining yourself up to get destroyed. But you brought up something that was really great, the lab, right? These OCs are in the lab. And I look at the touchdown that we had last week out of the backfield.
Oh, with Cook, yeah.
With Cook.
Yeah, the 4th
and
and 3,
I looked at that and I ran it back a few times and I thought to myself, this is a lab play. They schemed that so beautifully. And look, it's catch-22. You either want to be a linebacker in this league and have to do most amazing things, which you probably cannot, so you play forever, or you don't want to be a linebacker in this league because you got to fill like an elephant and you got to fly like a deer. I mean, it's got to be the worst position in football to have to play.
Yeah, it is a matchup league. So, teams are dissecting what teams do, their opponents do well, and then they mix and match. And it's become a league. When you were playing left tackle in the Super Bowl, it was like we were running a play every 16 real seconds. Forget about the play clock. It was 16 seconds. The ball was snapped. It was really fast. Now it's everything but that. They go up and out of the huddle early. They get lined up. Then they move this guy. Okay, then they'll shift him over to here. Then they'll move this guy. And there's a lot of this going on, finding out what the defense does. So offenses have become able to pick and choose what defender they want guarding which of their guys. And that's the experiment that you see with doing all this, which is why, this run game thing throws a wrench in everybody's.
Yeah, we're going to line it up. We're going to run it right at you, right? And then if you want to bring people up, then we're going to fake it and we're going to dump it over the top. We got 2 tight ends that can run the seam as well as half the receivers in this league.
Right. I got to ask you this now. So you're saying you blocked pass rushers your entire career. What's it do to those pass rushers when all they're doing is bearing up against the run? How's that change things for you?
Man, they don't like it. Okay, anybody that's a premier defensive end in the NFL was drafted for that position because they can get to the guy on the spot 7.5 yards behind the offensive line.
Right.
And when you start powering up and getting in their face, it's tiring. I know you can remember at the end of a game, you get that stool in front of your locker room, and I remember thinking to myself, I can't even lift my arms. Right. I'm so tired.
Right.
How does that feel as a little bit of an undersized defensive end with Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown leaning on you play after play? You better be rolling. We want to see those guys drift into their play count below 60%, below 50%. And we'll see some incredible success on the ground.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your duties this evening. I don't think you're going to have to do a whole lot to get people hyped up for a Monday night football game here in Orchard Park. Let's just say they're going to be pretty lubed up between now and kickoff. So I think your job is relatively easy, but you gotta whip these people into a frenzy here tonight. What are you kind of expecting? Yeah.
Hey, Brownie, it won't be hard. Okay, these are Buffalo Bills fans. You've seen them. They're out there. They're outside the building right now. They're barbecuing. They're already putting them away. They're going to be easy to get amped up. But selfishly, this is a moment. I get to be back on my home field. I get to hear the fans screaming, whether they're screaming for me or not. Just the reverberation, that sonic wave coming down. It is so invigorating. There is nothing like being in Orchard Park for a Buffalo Bills game.
Just let me get you. Don't you get too oiled up? I mean,
I brought my personal chaperone.
I got a lot of family in the crowd. I don't want I got grandkids in the crowd. I don't want you to
all my buddies back home. They're like, hey, I'll give you $100 if you take your shirt off.
Right?
Are you out of your mind?
But we let Fitzpatrick do that when he's in town. He's
that's
the guy.
Right. That's what I said. That's Fitzmagic's role, not mine.
Perfect. That's what he does. Because he looks like he's got a bearskin rug on him when he takes his shirt off, and for some reason the fans love it. Anyway, well, John, we're looking forward to getting everybody hyped tonight. So good to have you back in town. Good to see you as always, and get ready, man, because John will be ready to get you fired up.
We'll hang out
for the
after
game.
the show. It'll be fun. I'll see you.
I can't wait, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
You bet.
That's John Fina joining us here in studio. Tonight's legend of the game for Bills Jaguars on Monday Night Football.